So you're thinking about giving up on your private practice. You've been doing it for a few years now. You've had some success, but it just keeps getting harder and harder and harder. And quiet as it's kept, you are no longer loving the private practice owner life like you thought you would. But you're committed to doing one more thing, trying one more time in 2026. Let's talk about what this can look like and how you can make this your best year in private practice yet. Now, if this video is resonating with you already, you're probably a very particular type of private practice owner. You're a therapist who is not a newbie. You are not new to this. You are true to this. You've been doing it for several years. You're not at all burnt out on therapy. You still love helping your clients and you're still really, really good at it, but you are burnt out on all the other stuff that goes with it. First and foremost, you are not alone in this feeling. If you're having this feeling and you're saying like, why is this so hard? Shouldn't it be getting easier by now? Or is it always going to feel like this? Or a classic one is somebody who started their private practice and maybe they're working a job on the side, or they're still working full-time and trying to build on the side. They were hoping to get to a stage of some momentum where things would finally stabilize and feel secure, and they just haven't gotten there yet. Here's what I want you to know. You're not crazy. It is definitely harder than it has been in the past to start, grow, or scale a private practice. It's not impossible, but there's just some nuances that you probably weren't taught about in grad school, and maybe you haven't even really picked up on because you've been so head down getting the work done. In the simplest terms, what I call this is the messy middle. You're not where you were, but you're not where you want to be. And the middle is, in fact, a really challenging place for anyone to be because you don't have that same like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed feel that you had when you got started. And even though you feel like wisdom and knowledge and skill that you've developed, you still feel like there's so much left for you to learn. And that maybe unspoken frustration that says, listen, I am too good at what I do to be this broke, or I am too skilled to still not have enough skills to have gotten over this hurdle. That feeling is one that is really hard because you're experienced enough and seasoned enough that you feel like you should be further ahead. So you don't even really, like sometimes like the freebie support that is available online and in different places, you're past that, but you're trying to get over that hump. A lot of people, it's that leap from the six-figure mark or, over the six-figure mark to the multiple six figures and beyond, the place where your income matches your expertise. And really, it's not just about your income, because you want the quality of your life to match your expertise. Because some people are doing pretty good on the income side, but they are working way too hard for it. Here's the truth that you need to hear. This season of your life is going to require a shift. It's going to require you to step up into your CEO role in all its glory, to make decisions as a thought leader with the vision of your practice in mind. You can no longer afford to be reactive, right? You have to be strategic and intentional with the work that you do. And what's really important in this season isn't just about adding in new things, it's about eliminating whatever doesn't need to be present in your life right now. There are 3 things that every private practice owner has to make sure are solid in their business if they want to have a sustainable private practice that will take them through every season of life. Number 1, you've got to have enough profit in the work that you are doing to cover all of your expenses and then some. Believe it or not, most private practices are only moderately profitable, even though they're bringing in decent revenue. And a lot of times it's either being eaten up by overhead or chomped into by low-cost sessions. So the idea is you really do have to have your eyes keenly poised to find high-value, high-profit offers that you can present to your clients that make you good money. For some practices, this is intensives or workshops For other practices, it's corporate consulting or speaking or training, but you have to have some high profit services in your practice to make sure that you are generating across the board the profit that allows you to be stable. The other thing that you want to make sure that you have is good cash flow. If you have clinicians that are working underneath you or with you, that payroll comes around every 2 weeks. And making sure that your cash flow matches what you're having to spend to keep the practice operational is a big part of having a practice that feels sustainable. A lot of times people do have a decent amount of profit, but because they're waiting on deposits or waiting on people to pay their co-pays or waiting on people to pay their deductibles, it ends up feeling like it's not secure. So you want to have a business that includes both a high, enough profit to keep things moving, but cash flow so that it doesn't ever feel like you're cash hungry, which is the worst feeling for a business owner. But this third piece is the piece that most people miss. And it is the right combination of services, products, and delivery that allows you to have a high quality of life. For most of the practice owners who've gotten to the place where they are ready to throw in the towel, this piece is the one that's missing. You're either working too hard for the money that you're bringing in, or the money that you're bringing in takes so much of your time, mental energy, physical presence, that you just don't feel like you have a high quality of life. Recently, I saw a post in one of the Facebook communities that I'm a part of, and somebody said, I'm just ready to throw in the towel. I've reached this season of my life where I want to be more present for my family, and I feel like if I'm not constantly working in my business, I just can't get ahead or keep my head above water. And that feeling was enough to say, I just want to go back to work, have a paycheck, and punch in and punch out. And I'm not even here to say that that's not a viable option for some people, but I just want most people to understand. I just want people to understand that the truth is you can have that in your business. A few years back, the CEO of our practice decided that she was going to give IVF one more try. She wanted to have a particular lifestyle with her new baby girl, and she wasn't willing to sacrifice the life that she had worked really hard for and spent a lot of money to make happen just to keep the business going. So she decided she was going to close down her caseload, but she still needed to have a paycheck. Now, most practice owners don't have any vision of how that could possibly happen. They cannot see a world in which they can still get paid without showing up every single day to do the work. And the truth is, most practice owners can if they design their business that way. The key here is it's time for you to shift out of therapist mode, take that therapist hat off for a second, and shift firmly into being the CEO of your practice. So let's talk about what it will look like for you to step firmly into your role as the CEO. First thing I want you to think about is, what is success for you in this season? What does it actually look like, feel like, smell like, taste like? What is it going to mean in your bank account? What is it going to mean in your day-to-day life? What does success actually feel like? What does it actually mean to you? One of the key things that has been so important for us as a practice, as we've grown and changed and morphed and all these different things, is to be clear about the difference between freedom and flexibility. They are not the same thing, but so many private practice owners get this piece confused. Most private practice owners have flexibility. They can choose the schedule that they want. They can work from anywhere. They can do lots of things that people in a traditional 9-to-5 office-based job couldn't necessarily do. But what they don't have is freedom, right? You've got flexibility, meaning you can work where you want and when you want. But if you take time off, you're screwed. You're not getting paid. And for most people, that means you never truly feel free. I've told you the story about my CEO who was getting ready to go in for another round of IVF, and we were so sure that this time was going to work. She wanted to make sure that she took her time and really enjoyed her pregnancy and her postpartum, and that she didn't have to stress about getting back to her caseload. We completely closed her caseload down and allowed her to keep one corporate client that she sees a couple times per week during only seasons of the year, and that works for her. That's freedom, right? She doesn't have to show up every single day. She doesn't have to have 20 or 30 slots on her calendar, and she's still able to get a paycheck every week. That is freedom. Most private practice owners never get there because they don't know how to structure their lives to give them the right amount of support. So you got to decide what success looks like for you. Next up, I want you to focus on what are those things that you know you want to actually eliminate, right? Those things that if you could get this off your plate, you think you would be happier. You think you'd have more time. You think you'd have more motivation, more energy, more creativity, more room for expansive thinking. What are those things that you want to get rid of, that you want to take off your schedule, and make sure that they're handled by someone, but just not by you? Getting those things identified will tell you who you want to hire. Sometimes people will say to me, like, I need to write a job description. And I'm like, guys, the job description can be anything you want it to be. The job title can be anything you want it to be. You can create it however you want to create it. The key here is for you to know what you want to have included. So when you start to think about those things that you want to eliminate, that is when you get to the position of being more strategic about what you decide, who you're going to hire and who you're going to include in those types of things. So it is important that you get really crystal clear on what do you want to eliminate from your day-to-day, weekly, monthly, yearly life. And then the last thing I want you to think about is, what would you never want to get rid of? What is that thing that you know still lights you up, still excites you, still makes you proud and happy to do the work that you do? Let that thing rise to the top. Making sure that you don't eliminate that is really important. I know some people that never want to give up one-on-one. They always want to have a small caseload so that they can still get that little taste of being a partner with someone's lives. I know some people who say they are ready to give up the one-on-one, but they really love the workshops or the events or the speaking engagements, or maybe they like to write. You get to decide what that is. Once you know what you want to eliminate and what you want to make sure you got included and what is going to actually make you have a successful life, then we can plug those in and make the numbers do what they need to do. Now, if you're sitting here nodding your head saying, okay, now, Kavalin, you are speaking my language, I want you to know this feels good to you, because we're not talking about information. We're not talking about another course. We're not talking about, some tip or some trick. We're talking about a shifting in the way that you do business, and your heart and your soul knows that's exactly what you need right now. And it is exactly what I'm going to cover in the CEO Clarity workshop this week. CEO Clarity is a small live workshop event. It is a container for people who are going to have clear thoughts, who are going to make clear decisions that are strategic and intentional, for people who are done doing business as usual and just surviving and are designing the life that they actually want to live. Take this as your permission to pause, to evaluate where you are, where you want to be, and how you're going to get there, and to do it in a way that makes sense for you. You might have started your business like everybody else did, right? You just went out there and got started like everybody else did. But what's going to take you into this next season is clarity, and you're going to get that in the CEO Clarity workshop.